Welcome to the Wealth Genius Podcast, brought to you by the Expand Wealth Real Estate Fund. Expand your wealth by investing in apartment buildings. Go to expandwealthfund.com to book your info session. The Wealth Genius Podcast, strategies for multifamily real estate investing, mindset, community, success. The Wealth Genius Podcast with your host, the godfather of real estate, Alfonso Cuadra, who has expansive experience in business and massive success as a real estate investor. The Wealth Genius Podcast. Let's dive into today's episode.
Oh my goodness, we're rolling.
Here we go.
What are we going to
do? We don't know where we're going.
This is going to be fun.
This will be a good one.
Look, we know each other for a long time. I've, of course, always admired you and all the things that you've been doing, and I definitely respect it. You've had the opportunity. You've spoken on a lot of our stages, and I'm just an audience member looking at you, with your story, talking about small town Alberta, and that's where I want to start.
Okay.
What's your back, Deanna? What's the background? What's going on?
Wow, yeah, it's interesting to share. I don't know that I've shared kind of a unique thing about my childhood. Is I actually went to school in a 2-room schoolhouse.
Wow.
Right?
So what, it was like the grades like 1 to 6.
1 to 3.
Yeah.
In the little room,
mm-hmm.
and 4 to 7 in the big room. And we sat in a row with our grade. There was just myself and one other girl. And so that was in Waterton Park.
Waterton Park. What was the population at that time?
Well, in the wintertime, the population is about 50 souls. That's it. And they're cold souls.
Wow.
And then,
50 people.
That's it.
Wow.
Yeah. Halloween was amazing, though.
Everybody's in everybody's business.
Oh, my gosh. Halloween, you would get invited in, and they would have made hot chocolate and treats. And it wasn't just you stood at the door and got candies. I would go home after school, and the snowmobiles were parked right there, and off we would go, and we would snowmobile. I had the entire campground to myself, so we grew up in a campground. Which led, though, to, at 12 years old, I was working all summer. May long weekend would hit.
On the campground?
In the campground,
nice.
Yeah. And, the tourists would come back, and we just worked our tails off all summer. We'd be up at 6, 7 o'clock. My mom would be doing pancake breakfasts for all the campers. And my job, highly glamorous. I had a great little golf cart I drove around, and I cleaned all the bathrooms.
Okay. Someone's got to do it.
Someone's got to do it. That's right. Yeah, yeah. And my brother and I used to love to shock people. The Germans would fly into Calgary and rent a motorhome, drive down, and they would start their tour there, and they wouldn't know how to hook them up or anything. So my brother and I, as 12, 13 years old, we could back in RVs, hook them up, unhook them. That was just our life. But it taught us hard work from the beginning, right? Really hard work ethic. And, it led us, I think, the small town, living in a small, hardworking ranching community like that. I always worked a couple of jobs, through high school and college. And so I think I was sort of an entrepreneur before I knew it. Mm-hmm. I even knew what it was. The role models that I had were only on television. All I saw, I saw Southern California, watched a lot of, all of those shows where you would see these palm trees. And that's when we started to dream about living a life in these places. And so that's kind of how we got started in real estate, was with this idea that we might be able to own 2 or 3 different places around the world and travel around.
Wouldn't that be wild?
Wouldn't that be wild? And, we didn't know what we didn't know. We thought Hawaii would be amazing. That's all we knew. We thought Vancouver Island was exotic to us. Right?
Yeah,
we didn't know that we would end up buying properties in the Caribbean, and getting to travel around to real estate events all over North America and share our story and help empower women and young people the way that we get to do, right?
Yeah.
It's such a privilege to be that part of people's lives just by sharing what we've learned along the way.
So what was your first deal?
Oh,
in real estate, and what were you doing just before, and how did you get into it?
So our first purchase was a single wide trailer. And we made money on that thing, on a mobile home. Yes, because I painted and stenciled that thing like crazy.
And were you intentional about like making it into a business, or were you just buying it for yourself, or what was going through your head?
It was just our first home. I was working for the airlines, and I think I was working for $6.50 an hour, working at Painter's Lodge in Campbell River, where the really nice customers, if I managed to carry the drink from the bar to the table, would give me $10. Right? So I understood, hey, there are better ways to make money than having a job. So we bought that little trailer. That's all we could afford. We made a little bit of money on it, and then we started in real estate. So our first deal was made out of necessity, as many are. At the time in Alberta, we were moving back to Alberta, and you could assume a mortgage without qualifying. And so we assumed a mortgage that we probably couldn't afford. And somehow we made it work. We were house poor, but then the values went up.
And this is on the trailer?
This was a house that we bought after the trailer.
So the trailer was the first move.
Yeah.
You flipped that.
We flipped that in 2 years. We did the improvements, right? We updated it. It had all that nasty old dark wood. And we really did. We painted, we lightened it up, all of the things that we were doing back in the 2000s. And we made a few $1,000s off it.
And you're like, wow.
Yeah, isn't that cool? And then we were moving back to Alberta, and we, just found out that you could qualify or assume a mortgage. At the time, only in Alberta could you do that without qualifying. So we bought this big house that we couldn't afford. It was a bigger asset than we should have had. And we couldn't afford the down payment. But the guy who was selling it to us was in such a bad situation that he offered to take our down payment over 5 years.
So you paid him over time?
We paid him in increments. So we were doing a creative deal before we even knew what it was. And I think we were 3 years in, and he had some more financial difficulty. He came back, and I think we owed him another $10,000. He came back and he said, hey, can you pay me now? And we said, well, we can pay you this much now, and that's it. And he said, okay, I'll take it. And so we were done. And we made our down payment gradually over the years. We were in this great family home that was a higher value than any asset we would have been able to afford. And then when the property values went up, by then I had started working at CMHC, so we started to understand about leverage, refinancing. So we now had access to refinance and buy our second property and then start buying townhomes. And we were just slow and steady. It took us a while. We loved townhomes because we were busy. My husband was traveling all over for work. I was traveling all over for work. And so townhomes, we maybe didn't make as much money, but we didn't have to worry about lawn care. We could fit it in. And it worked for us at the time. And I think that's such an important thing for people to remember. It fit our lifestyle.
Well, also the strategy has to fit the time, right? I mean,
yes.
Going back even 15 years ago, you could find some houses that would meet the 1% rule that made a lot of sense, So as things evolve and as things change, the strategy has to change along with the industry and the climate and, kind of where you're at the time. And so looking at your situation, I see how that would have worked.
It worked at the time. And then it's such a great point you make, because then we had a little bit of experience, a little bit of equity, and then the U.S. financial crisis came. So down south we went. And, you could buy properties for 25 cents on the dollar. Cheap. Yes. And
those are good times, yes.
Yeah, good times. Yeah. Wish we could have bought more, right? Yeah. But we didn't have the supports around us. We didn't have the knowledge at the time. So we did what we were comfortable doing, which people thought we were crazy. Now I look back and I think I wish we had, 10x'd what we did. But it was right for the time. It was right for us. And it's given us, a great basis and a lot of fun over the years doing it that way.
And so now you've moved on to like larger assets and, this resort that you bought in in Curaçao. And so like how did you end up doing that? Why did you do it? And, if someone's looking to do that, what would you tell them?
Yes. Buying a piece of paradise. It's not just an HGTV show.
What is it, Brian Bomber? Flipping paradise, or something
his
like
renovation resort. Yeah. I've actually gotten to talk to Brian about it.
Yeah.
And his is on a larger scale, but
it's so interesting. It is attractive. Like even Helene and I have talked about it many times. It's like, wouldn't it be nice? And you did it.
We did it. We've learned a lot of lessons.
How did you find it, first of all? How does someone find a resort?
So we had always known we'd have something in the Caribbean. My husband, that's what he's always wanted. And the exact place that we were going to go rent for a winter got wiped out by a hurricane. And so Curaçao is outside of the hurricane zone. It's a Dutch.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, they're building a deep water marina there to move all the super yachts over to protect them.
Wow.
So that was a big draw to that island specifically. And then when you go across to Aruba, the cost of the properties are 2-3 times as much, but the nightly rate isn't that different. So we had done a little bit of research around these things. And then there's a great community of Canadians down there. In fact, there's a gentleman, he's not a real estate investor, but he's out of Ottawa. He and his wife moved down there. He's a respiratory therapist. Mm-hmm. And every month there's 50 or 60 Canadians get together. And that's also great for us. We enjoy having, that expat community. So we went down, we looked at properties, we found one, we found another one, we found another one. And it kind of grew on its own. And then things changed in our lives. We thought we were going to be able to spend more time down there. And so, I often say sometimes there are some dreams that perhaps shouldn't be realized. Mm-hmm. For us, the timing wasn't right for it to be the dream that we go spend 6 months down there. You can only spend 3 in Curaçao as a Canadian. But things changed in our lives. Now, we've pivoted. We have great management there. We have people helping us with the properties. But it's not quite the dream that it was. I'm not wearing the flowing white linen, on the deck with the breeze blowing through. But that's okay, right? You make changes as you go along. So I think that's also part of resilience that people should understand. I mean, I love real estate investing. It has given us an incredible life. And I also want to say, it doesn't always go all right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And what are so in terms of international investing, and so if some, and I had no intention of the podcast going this way, but it just occurred to me, some people may be curious about that. Like, how does someone go about buying something overseas? Like, what are things that you have to look out for? What are some of the learnings that you got out of it if someone's planning to do that right now?
Yes. Time on the ground. Obviously, that's the number one thing. You've got to be in that country and start to learn about the laws and the customs. Mm-hmm. Business customs are very different. For example, in Curaçao, there is no MLS system. There are major brokerages, but they don't share listings. So if you're buying, you go to one realtor, you're only going to see what they have listed. Mm-hmm. So that's a very subtle but important difference.
Yeah.
Right? You need to understand the banking system. What type of financing? I hear a lot of people that are interested in buying internationally, but maybe the financing is more attractive in other countries than where you're looking. And I think that can really matter too, because I've seen people go to countries where they have to put 50% down, which may or may not meet their goals.
Yeah.
Right? That's a big piece of money to put down in a foreign
country. And it just
country.
stuck there. Yeah.
And it may be stuck there. There may be liquidity. We have the same thing in the States. When you sell a property there might be withholding taxes. Yeah. So find out about those things. The other big thing is the language. All your contracts, all your documents can come in a different language. And Google Translate is pretty good, but just understand you got to Google Translate everything.
Yeah.
And those customs, also their laws are often older. Canada, we're such a young country and things are often updated. But you might be dealing with, other than Quebec. Quebec, we got a title for our property that was, 300 years old and went through everybody and their carts that they had gotten there with, that sort of thing. Same thing in some of these countries where you may be dealing with laws that are hundreds of years old.
And you're not used to.
And you're not used to, and you don't know who, for example, here's one, a church owns a portion of land, but it's all filled with houses. So people are on it. They think they own the land, but actually the church has all the rights to that land. And you don't want to find that out after you buy it because it's not in the listing.
Yeah. Wow. You know, a lot of, so people have a vision of investing like overseas, and, you better be careful and you might be careful what you wish for.
Yes. Liquidity is often not even a topic of conversation.
And management.
Right? We've gone through a couple iterations of management, and we have literally taken our own vacation manager from Canada and set them up on the island.
That's pretty nice. That's pretty nice of you. Oh, poor,
It was a dream
is
of
it
theirs,
a he or she,
too. Well, we've got a few people, right?
Okay,
and we hired on the island.
Poor them. They have to go spend time on an island.
Yeah.
No, that's it's a lot of fun. So what do you got going on now?
Oh my goodness. So we're doing some refabs. Improving some properties, and that's going really well. Having a lot of fun with that in the States.
Yeah.
Keeping an eye on what's going on in that market there, right? Every market cycle presents opportunities. So if you've, kept your powder dry, it's going to be shopping season.
And where are you doing these rehabs?
We're in the Southwest in Nevada,
okay.
in Las Vegas, but we've got our eye on a couple other markets right now. Got a fantastic team going on down there. So really happy with the progress that we're doing there. Working on a large-scale development out in the Maritimes. And so that one, in Canada, development, large-scale land development, this is, a couple hundred units, has been a pretty interesting game the last couple of years. So trying to be smart with our timing on that. So that one is that one keeps us, gives us a few sleepless nights, if you will, right now with the government change and things like that. But we specialized in diversification.
Yeah. Well, you do. Yeah, I mean, you got resorts. You got townhomes, flipping, and then large development. And actually, I think people are going to get a lot of this out of this interview, because someone that came from, buying a trailer, right, in small town Alberta, owning a trailer home, to now owning real estate all around the world. I mean, internationally, and doing all the things that you're doing. That's inspiring for a lot of people. So, who do you want to reach? Like, who? If someone would be if someone's sitting there listening, who's that person that you'd want to say, look, get up from your chair and do it? Or someone that's sitting there scared, like, who do you want to who would you want to connect with on this little interview?
I work with a lot of women through Real Power, but I want to reach all of the people that sit there thinking that they're a little bit different, that they maybe don't fit in, that they have a bigger plan. As a young girl standing there in Waterton, I remember looking up and thinking, like, there is a whole big world out there, and not being comfortable with that, not knowing what to do with that. And so I think you have to remember that you are the only person who can limit yourself. And so if you're sitting there thinking that there might be something more, that you want more, if you're the person who always wants to sit in the front row at the concert, you want to have the experiences, you are the person that can go make those happen. And you don't have to take a massive action at the beginning. It is all about consistency, but then saying yes and figuring stuff out along the way. And I've always loved that Richard Branson quote, right? And I've found that a few times. I'll never forget. I was sitting in my office at CMHC, and they came in and said, one of the executives can't go to the Canadian Home Builders Conference in Jasper. Can you fill the seat? And this was at 4:00. And, it was for the whole weekend. And my husband was working in Hong Kong at the time. And I thought, well, what am I going to, yes, of course I'm going to go. And then I figured out, and got somebody's mom to come stay with the kids. Like, say yes, take the chance, go figure it out. And you never know where it'll lead you.
I love that. Just say yes. Well, I like to end the podcast with a inspiring quote or a mantra, but just say yes, I think fits the bill. But what else? What is something that you can leave the audience with?
Oh, this one is our family tenet. So, take the chances, just say yes, but leave the world a better place than you found it.
Clean up after yourself. I love it. Hey, we're friends for life here.
Yes.
You're my sister from a different
Love
mister.
Love
and and that's the podcast. Thank you for coming by. That's it. Alfonso loves you. We'll see you all at the top. Woo!
The Wealth Genius Expand Investor Conference is coming to the Lux Convention Center in Mississauga this October 31st through November 2nd, 2025, with over 50 speakers, 100 vendors, and over 1,000 in attendance. This is the premier real estate investor conference that you do not want to miss. Hosted by the godfather of real estate, Alfonso Cuadra. Expand Investor Conference, October 31st through November 2nd, 2025. Get your tickets at eventbrite.ca, and we'll see you at the top.